Welcome to Saxx Reacts, to this theater we call the world. So step inside and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, thanks for stopping back by. You know the show must go on. Come on in.
You know, coming up as youngins, my grandparents would always tell us when it was raining outside to sit down. God is working. Every time it would rain, they'll say, sit down, God working. So now at my big age of 36, I'm learning when the storms rage in my life to sit down, son. God is working. Stop worrying. God is working. When he say peace, be still, God is working. So I don't know if it's just for me. It might be for you, but when the storms start raging in your life, just be still. God working. Just hold on to faith and don't give in and don't give up just yet. Let him work, all right? I love you. Have a good one.
Now y'all know how I do it. I gotta start off every one of these videos with a bit of motivation. You know what I'm saying? We gotta come up in this house happy. We got to leave this house happy. You know what I mean? We gotta kick that off. But with that being said, y'all, fair warning, this episode is kind of heavy. So just be prepared for that. But without further ado, let's get this mission rolling.
If Christianity were about defending a flag, Jesus would have picked up a sword. But he didn't. He picked up a cross. And yet somehow a movement that's supposed to follow that man, a man that said, my kingdom is not of this world, has decided that protecting a modern nation state called Israel is the center of Christian duty. That blessing it, defending it, and justifying it at all costs is some holy assignment carved into the marrow of the gospel. But I'll say it plainly, Christianity does not require allegiance to the state of Israel. That's not heresy, that's scripture. In the Bible, Israel was not a place first, it was a person. It was Jacob, wrestling with God by a river until dawn, scarred by truth and renamed by grace. Israel meant one who struggles with God, and it became the name of a people, not a flag, not a government, not a modern nation carved out in 1948 by colonial politics and American guilt. The word carried spiritual identity. It meant those called into covenant with God. It had nothing to do with missiles or borders or UN resolutions. When the modern state was named Israel, it was not a return to biblical obedience. It was a calculated decision, an intentional conflation of nationalism with theology. It was branding, and a powerful one because it worked. Because now when people hear Israel, they imagine sacred continuity. They imagine divine appointment. They imagine the Old Testament alive and well in 2025, and they are wrong. The Israel of the Hebrew Scriptures was not a Western-backed nuclear power. It was a wandering tribe, a nation in exile, a people constantly called back to justice, humility, and mercy, and often condemned for chasing empire. The prophets didn't worship Israel. They rebuked it over and over and over again for war, for greed, for turning their back on the poor and the foreigner. You know, the same things modern Israel does with American funding now. The idea that Christians are commanded to bless the state of Israel is not in the Gospels. It is not in the epistles. It is not in the teachings of Jesus Christ. It's in the talking points of televangelists and the foreign policy of end-time grifters. The gospel does not preach that God's blessings is tied to the modern border of Tel Aviv or the Iron Dome. Jesus never said, blessed are those who back Likud. Paul never wrote that all who oppose military action are cursed. The early church wasn't fundraising for defense systems or declaring settlements on stolen land as prophetic fulfillment. And yes, the Old Testament speaks of Israel as God's chosen people. And yes, land was part of that covenant, but in Christian theology, the story shifts. The covenant widens, and the veil tears. And the new Israel, the church, is defined not by soil, but by spirit. Not by war, but by witness. And it is made up of anyone from anywhere who walks in faith. Jew, Gentile, Arab, Roman, enslaved, free, all in one Christ Jesus. The New Testament doesn't tell Christians to defend a country. It tells them to defend the poor, to defend the outcast, to walk with the wounded, to make peace, not justifications for war, to see the face of God not in a flag, but in the suffering child behind the rubble. And yet today, American Christians fly Israeli flags next to crosses as if those things belong together. They equate criticism of the Israeli government with blasphemy. They pretend that military aid is a sacrament and that genocide is somehow covered under the blood of covenant promise. And Christ weeps at that lie, because if the gospel means anything, it means you do not get to use God as a shield for political violence. You do not get to bomb refugee camps and quote Jeremiah. You do not get to drop white phosphorus and call it fulfillment. That's not Christianity, that's idolatry. This doesn't mean you have to hate Israel. It doesn't mean you can't believe in its right to exist, but it does mean that if you are a follower of Christ, your loyalty cannot be to any nation, not even one with a biblical name. Your loyalty is to justice, to truth, to love that doesn't end at a checkpoint or a drone feed. Jesus didn't die so the modern church could become a lobby group. He didn't rise so we could bless bombs. He didn't preach love for the least of these so we could side with whoever has better tanks. And if your church is preaching that blessing Israel is the key to God's favor, then you're not in church. You're in a cult, praying to a carved-up God who only speaks Hebrew and votes Republican. The gospel doesn't ask you to bless a nation. It does ask you to bless the peacemakers, to comfort the mourners, to defend the innocent, and reject violence dressed as virtue. There is no divine nation, there is only divine love. And if you think that love stops at a border fence or a flagpole or the edge of a crater where children used to live, then you don't know Christ at all. Defiance till death.
Wow. Super powerful, y'all. And I hope y'all really listen to that message. And again, I don't mean to be jumping in there like I'm trying to take you to church, nothing like that. Heck, I don't even go to church myself. I am a Christian though. But just the state of the world right now and how crazy it is that you can't speak ill of Israel. Obviously, there's a reason for that. I mean, I'm not going to get technical and get into any kind of, deep talk about that here, because obviously I can't. But come on, it's very obvious what's popping off here. And people that don't see it, man, you're beyond blind to me. You're just willfully ignorant, because it is. But let me keep putting the pieces of this puzzle together for you, though. Let me help you understand.
Israel is the only country I know of that has some sort of incredible influence and control over nearly every single one of my colleagues. And it is, I don't know how to explain it.
No one wants to feel like their position has been bought and paid for, but these politicians, they have. And so I can see why AIPAC would get mad if these politicians then turned on them and didn't support. It's like, what did my 3,800 times 3 get me if you're not going to vote for my issues?
Exactly, because AIPAC are Americans, therefore they can legally donate to members of Congress and senators. So let's talk about how that works. AIPAC takes every single that they can, freshman member of Congress, their first year in Congress, they take them on a very special trip to Israel in August. August is our recess. It's our month-long district work period. That's
Dems and Republicans, or just Republicans?
They take both of them. Yeah. Yes. And they invite pretty much everyone, to my knowledge. So they take them on this trip to Israel. I guess they go on tours all around. I didn't go, so I don't know what they do there. But they take them on tours, like the pictures we've seen recently of the speaker and other members of Congress at the Wailing Wall. Here's what else they do. AIPAC takes influencers. They take really big people like you. They want you to come over there. They want to pull you in because they want to pull you on their side. And why is that? Okay. For members of Congress, every single year, annually, Israel receives, and we have to vote on it. It's a yes or no vote, $3.8 billion in funding for Israel. Now, what does that money mean? Well, they'll say, "Oh, well, this is for Israel. It's them to be able to defend themselves. They're the only democracy in the Middle East.
Yep.
They're constantly under attack. They're surrounded by their enemies who wants to annihilate them."
That's all true.
Sure, we're not arguing those points. However, let's flip over and look at, well, what does this mean? Number one, Israel is doing so well with their economy, and I'm excited for them. This is a big deal. I wish we were doing this good. We're $37 trillion in debt. Israel is less than $400 billion in debt. Less than. If you're an Israeli citizen, you have government-funded health care and you have government-funded college. So why is America having to give Israel $3.8 billion?
That is a very good question. So are y'all tracking? Are y'all seeing the pattern here with what's going on in the world and the public backed things to say and public shamed things to say? And that, for any of you that might not know, I'd imagine all of you know, but if you don't know, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's a congresswoman. So, she's speaking from behind enemy lines, so to speak. But yeah, just let me keep tying the knots together for you. Let's tighten this up. Let's get this ship real
20
tight.
years of service in the military. Yesterday, I got pulled into an officer's office and counseled for posts that I have on my social media. During the counseling, they told me I'm under investigation as a threat to national security. When I asked for proof, like what the posts were yesterday, they refused to give it to me. They made me come back today to further go over stuff. They gave me the proof, and the proof they gave me are anti-Israel posts. Now, when I joined the military, I took an allegiance to support the United States of America. I did not ever take an allegiance to support Israel. But yet, I am deemed a threat to national security because I do not support Israel and their genocide against the Palestinian people. Yes, you heard that right. I am deemed a threat to national security because I don't support Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. Since when does not supporting a foreign nation get a U.S. soldier investigated for being a threat to national security?
Really getting hard to not see the obvious line of some power somewhere controlling somewhere else, and the power dynamic seems to be completely backwards on who's got the power and who's jumping when told how high to jump, if you're tracking. We ain't done tying stuff together here, y'all.
Let me tell you the truth that don't nobody want to say out loud. American citizens are being priced out of existence, and more people have stopped paying bills than they want to admit. Now, I'm not talking about just a few people slipping through the cracks. I'm saying that the cracks have widened so big that whole communities are slipping through them. And this isn't about laziness. This is not a problem of bad budgeting. Well, sometimes it's bad budgeting, but you get what I'm saying. The problem is beyond budgeting. What it's really about is an economy that has been stretched past its breaking point. The cost of survival has been raised higher than human beings can reach. Think about your own life. You go to work, you get paid, rent takes the whole check before you get your next breath out. Just instantly, boom, gone. You walk into the grocery store with money in your pocket, and then you walk out the grocery store with 2 little ass bags that barely last a week. Maybe a couple days if you're lucky. You stand at the gas pump and you watch the numbers spin and rise faster than your paycheck ever will. You go to the mailbox and it's nothing but more demand, more bills, and more weight you can't carry. And this cycle repeats itself day after day, month after month, year after year. And people are tired. Not just physically tired, people are burned out. We are, after all, living in a global burnout crisis. People are drained in the body. People are drained in the mind. People are drained in the soul. For years, they just told us to push harder, to rise and grind, to believe in our potential. But they never once acknowledged our limits. They never once acknowledged that human beings are not machines. They ignored the exhaustion. They ignored the collapse. They ignore the fact that we are working harder than ever in an economy that gives us less and less in return. And we've tried everything. Payday loans, side hustles, payment plans, extensions, rearranging due dates, running up them credit cards, borrowing from family, selling time, selling energy, selling our peace of mind. Every door has been knocked on. Every option has been exhausted. And no matter what you try, it's never enough. Because there isn't enough. Because the system was never built so that you can win. The system was designed for us to fail. And this is what it means to be priced out of existence. To give everything you have and still not be able to cover the basics. To work yourself to the bone and still fall behind. To live in a society where survival is set at a price that ordinary people cannot afford. And when you realize that, something shifts inside of you. You begin to see the truth. The dollar is hollow. It's not protection. It's not freedom. It's not wealth. It's a leash. A leash they use to keep you obedient. A leash they tighten while telling you to smile and be grateful for what you got. And you finally understand that the bills will never stop. Because the bills are the point. The bills are the chain. So people stop. People are stopping. Quietly, but people are stopping. They stop paying rent to buy food instead. They let the car go. They let the credit card rot. People just stop answering the phone. And it's not because they don't care. It's just that they care more about being alive than paying these companies or these banks. They care more about feeding their kids instead. You know what I'm saying? They care more about not losing their minds under the weight of all this unrealistic pressure. Here's the secret that they don't want you to know. More people than you think have already made that choice. But this country, it only adds more chaos, more fuel to the fire. We got tariffs tossed around like dice. Trade wars shaking every price tag. We got groceries going up, clothes going up, medicine going up, appliances, utilities, everything you touch is going up in price. One man's ego turned into millions of people's pain. That's not leadership. That is dictatorship energy. Living here in America has become unpredictable. You don't know what tomorrow will cost. You don't know what new rule or what new tantrum is going to make surviving tomorrow even harder. Look around. The signs are everywhere. Empty storefronts. You got families crammed together, doubling up, tripling up sometimes, just so everybody can have a place to live. Workers are taking on 2 and 3 jobs, hustling every hour of the day just to fall deeper and deeper into debt. This is beyond struggle. This is erasure. Citizens aren't just broke. They are being erased. We are being priced out of existence intentionally. And here's the part you never hear on the news. The rebellion has already begun. And it doesn't look like protests. It doesn't look like riots. It looks like silence. It looks like people saying no in private. It looks like families feeding themselves instead of paying rent. It looks like envelopes just left unopened. It looks like millions of people withdrawing from a system that no longer has anything to offer them. And that is the rebellion that this empire fears the most. Not rage in the streets, not loud slogans, but the refusal to believe. Because once you see the dollar for what it is, once you see that that bill is just a piece of paper, then you can never unsee it. And once enough people stop believing, then this illusion collapses. The empire, America, will call it irresponsibility. But what's more irresponsible? A family choosing to survive over fueling a rigged system? Or a government that spends billions on wars, on bailouts for billionaires, on corporate greed, while its citizens are burned out, tired, and broken? So let's be clear. They told us if we worked hard, if we followed the rules, then we'd be safe. But the truth is undeniable now. American citizens have been priced out of existence, and more of us have already stopped paying than they will ever admit. That's not just a statistic, that's a quiet revolution. Every exhausted body that says no, every unpaid bill that refuses obedience, every family that chooses life over debt. These are not failures. These are votes of no confidence in this empire. Proof that the spell is breaking. So when they ask what happened to the American dream, tell them that the people woke up. Tell them that the people ran out of options. Tell them that the people stopped paying. And that is how empires fall. Not always with fire raining down from the sky, but with silence at the kitchen table. It's not always with noise, but with millions of voices whispering the same truth. And that truth is, we will not pay for our own erasure because we've already been priced out. We are tired. We are done. And we will no longer pretend otherwise.
Preach it, brother. Everything he said was 1,000% real and true. And so if y'all, any of y'all might just started following me. So I started my business 3 years ago. 3 years ago, as of July 27th of this year was 3 years. Little small owner operated, just myself, little small taco shop. Well, it's called Saxx Tacos, but I chef up tacos, burgers, gourmet sandwiches, all that stuff. And my food is fire, by the way. If you in Austin, Texas, you need to get your butts over to Saxx Tacos. Me, and I'm going to be the one cooking for you. I'm going to be the one serving you. I wear all the hats up in there. I do all the work. But I say that to say this. He ain't lying. So in the 3 years I've been open, I've only had 12 days. I've only taken 12 days altogether off in the last 3 years. I worked every day in the last 3 years except for 12 days altogether. So I work harder now than I've ever worked in my life. I work every day of the week, countless hours while I squeeze in trying to do this other stuff because I'm trying to elevate past where I'm at over there. Like there's not enough time. We are literally at a point where we're trying to do so much to reach the bare minimum. Every month, I gotta wonder if I'm still gonna be able to keep these lights on, if I'm gonna keep the roof, even without the lights. You know, and this is literally every month. You know, my phone is every other day. My phone is ringing with this bill due, that bill due, that bill due. The more that I'm doing, the more I'm able to bring in, the faster it's going because my grocery costs are going up. Because when I start selling more, well, I gotta replace more, and then the price of all the groceries are going up every single day. Almost when I go into the grocery store to stock up on the groceries that I'll be prepping and selling that day. We're literally being priced out of existence, and it's tough. It really is tough. So, you know, it's monopoly. Let this guy tell you what's going on the monopoly front.
The adjuster, Luigi Mangione, took out that, well, maybe or maybe not, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only. I don't know. He took out that United Healthcare CEO, and then now we've got this guy that wanders into a skyscraper in Manhattan. And the news wants you to think he went to the NFL. No, dude, he went directly to the 33rd floor where Blackstone's real estate CEO was and took her out. Then we've got this politician somewhere, I'm only learning about this just now, where somebody busted into his office and covered him in gasoline and lit him on fire. Turns out this guy did something with these apartment complexes, sold them off to some corporation to where everybody's rent's going to get jacked up, they're going to get evicted. These are all common, these were adjustments. These are all adjusters. There's no the adjuster. Anyone is potentially an adjuster out to make deny a claim on somebody's success that's built on destroying lives. This is where we've made it in this country. When people talk about late stage capitalism and y'all dive into my comments and talk about, oh, that's a myth, and no, this is what it is. We are coming to the end of the game of Monopoly. And that game, you played it growing up, it only ends one of two ways. Either you play all the way through and one person ends up owning everything and everyone else has nothing. That's the point to the game. The original point when that game Monopoly was made was to prove that even the winner loses. Because when you own all of the money and all of the hotels and all of the houses and all of the railroads, everyone else in the game has no money to buy your house, to rent your hotel, to travel on your railroad. That's the point. Or, as it gets close to that end point, someone inevitably flips out and flips the table. And that's what these adjustments are. These are individuals who are at their wits' end. They've been driven to a precipice where they are forced to either let the end of the game just happen to them or flip the fucking table and make sure everybody loses with them. Mainly the current winners. That's what's going on here. These aren't unrelated. These aren't accidents. But they're also not some like coordinated plot. This is the state of mind of the American people right now. You know, you're going to have to fact check this stat. Fucking, you look it up. But I've been hearing a lot over the last couple of years that something like 80% of Americans are one $400 emergency away from bankruptcy. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. Meanwhile, we've got the Bezoses of the world and the Elon Musks. And look, I'm not hating the players. I'm hating the game, okay? Look, let's all be honest here. If we had stumbled into a situation where we had kabillions of dollars and we could buy half of a Hawaiian island to build bunkers and shit like that, we would. Because we'd be looking after ourselves and our own. But it shouldn't be that. I mean, Elon I was talking about, they're projecting by 2030 he's going to be the first trillionaire. I think a lot of you don't have an appreciation for how much money $1 trillion is. I think a lot of you don't have a lot of respect for how much a billion is. A billion's 1,000 million. 1 million seems to be the cap where our brains, we can get there. $1 million, like that's a almost unimaginable number to have just piled up in front of you, but like our brains can get there. Hell, these days that's 2 houses, you know, like we can do that. But then a billion is 1,000 of that. A trillion is $1 million. That first number, $1 million on the table in front of you, where your brain's like, oh, I mean, that's like rich shit. That's so much money. 1 million of that pile of money is $1 trillion. Something's got to change. Something has to change. And I'm starting to think that these aren't going to be weird one-offs anymore. And don't let the news tell you that the fucking politician that got doused with gasoline and lit on fire, they're like, oh, you know, it was a personal beef. But none of them say what that beef was, what their affiliation was. All we know about the guy is this shady fucking real estate deal he had with the corporation so far. Don't let them tell you that some kid that happened to play high school football went to the, you know, where some NFL offices were in New York. Those things don't have a whole lot to do with each other. I get that there was a football held at one time, but that doesn't equal beef with the NFL. And some note scrawled on the back of a fucking water bill or whatever the fuck that thing was. This is, oh, frickin' check my brain, CTE. Come on. Dude was sharply dressed, nice gun, with a fucking strut, went straight to the 33rd floor, Blackstone fucking real estate headquarters. They're the largest single family household owner in the country, specifically in Las Vegas, where this dude came from to execute this crime. They're adjustments. These are adjusters. There's no more the adjuster. There's just going to be multiple adjustments until things change.
I like his online social media platform talk. The adjusters. Is that what we're seeing right now? Is this the inevitable backlash coming into play from the real tyranny of man coming from our own people that are supposed to protect us, our own governments, our own policies. People just tired of having everything taken from them and taken from them and taken from them. Is this just real time watching some of that stuff actually play out from these insurance adjusters? Because anyone can be an adjuster. Yeah, I like the way he explained that. Let's take a look at this clip. Maybe it's got something to do with that as well. I don't know. What do y'all
Former
think?
CEO of Dole, dead June 9th, 2025. Founder of Leprino Foods, dead June 19th, 2025. Leonard Lauder, CEO, billionaire philanthropist, dead June 14th, 2025. Frederick Smith, former CEO of FedEx, dead June 21st, 2025. Billionaire Burton Tansky, dead March 16th, 2025. Billionaire Robert Shapiro, dead May 2nd, 2025. Former CEO of Hasbro, Alan Hassenfield, dead July 8th, 2025. Blackstone executive Wesley LePatner, 43 years old, dead July 2025. Junior Bridgman, billionaire, dead March 11th, 2025. Joshua Pickles, DoorDash executive, dead June 21st, 2025. Milestone CEO, dead June 2025. Jim Irsay, dead May 21st, 2025. He was the CEO and owner of the Indianapolis Colts. You think all of these are a coincidence? All of them?
Alleged.
No. It's definitely all coincidences. Every one of them. And we don't have to worry about anything going wrong with us. Our government's got our back. The politicians we vote for to put them in D.C. to take care of our best interests are definitely being taken care of. We don't got no worries. There's nothing to worry about.
For my entertainment purposes only. However, here, put this in your noodle box. What if our current ruling regime in America, in the United States, is pushing so hard just to see how far they can push us before we, the people, push back? Food is no longer a right, it's a privilege. Water is no longer a right, it's a privilege. You don't have the right to feed and water yourself without paying the fees and fines. That's fucked up. Homelessness is a crime. You can go to jail for it. But they won't lower the prices enough for people to be able to afford any of it. So they created a problem and they're just going to jail you for it. Free labor. That's what's going to happen. And now we're funding medical care for Israel that's better than the medical care we have in America. So what if they're pushing just to see how long it takes until we push back? And it's a Bugs Life thing. I agree with people who keep calling it a Bugs Life thing. Because we are the many. They are the few. It wouldn't even take half of us to stop what's happening to America and change it all. And I don't want to fix it. I want to change it. You can't fix this. It's already fucked. And working exactly the way it's supposed to be happening. We have to tear it all the way the fuck back down. At least back down to the Constitution. We got to quit circumventing our laws. We need fucking... we need a lot of shit. And not any more stupid motherfuckers that just want slaves and robots. And I'm not the only one that sees it, right? Or am I actually completely alone in this fucking universe? I'm called conspiracy theorist, which was a term that was made up in the 60s to cover up conspiracies. By the CIA. Look it up. Make sure I'm wrong. Like, what the fuck is really going on? If aliens are real, they're disappointed in us. That's why they don't come back here. If God was real, that's why everything's shit, because he's disappointed in us too. We spend too much time worrying about how much money we have and what we got to be godlike at all. It's written in the Bible not to do that. Not to wear a suit to church. Like, yeah, I know paraphrasing, obviously, but read that shit. Like, I wear rags on purpose. Like, I don't like buying new clothes because I like wearing rags. I like looking homeless all the time. It's my style. Or I guess if you really get into it, it's the 90s style because that's what they looked like in the 90s. Anyway, I'm rambling on now. I'll quit now. But I do believe that our government is pushing just to see how far they can push us before we start pushing back. But the way they circumvent laws, they made it illegal to push back. And since they own the propaganda tools, you'll just get demonized and criminalized because you stood up for yourself in this country. That's what world we live in now. And it's fucked. And I hate it. I don't hate this planet because it is beautiful. But the people in charge of parts of it, they need to not do that no more. They're fucking everything up on purpose. And making billions off of it. Good luck to you. Hope you make it through it.
Stay with me, y'all. The story gets bigger.
They just tried to sneak a bill through Congress after announcing they were on recess. And you heard me right. The House stood in front of America and said, "See ya after summer," then tiptoed back in behind a locked door to put H.R. 1319 on the floor to pass it today. And that's a bill that redefines who counts as an employee. And I don't have to tell you guys what that means, you know. But that does mean fewer protections, no benefits, no accountability for corporations, no healthcare obligations, no union power, no tax withdrawal for the future benefits of Social Security. And they passed it under suspension of the rules while we weren't looking. But Gen X, you were built for this kind of betrayal. You don't need a permission slip to pay attention. You don't fall for unity slogans or trust the process memes. You don't do cults, and you don't post thinking that that's actual action. You do actual call-outs.
Well, I'm not quite Gen X, but they are absolutely correct. I had no idea that this was taking place because, yes, Congress announced that they were shutting the doors until after summer. They said, bye-bye. See y'all later. We'll deal with the Epstein stuff later. But yes, the House committee meeting ended up introducing a bill. Here's the bill, you guys. I'm going to also link the actual full documents. It's only 3 pages. Don't worry, you guys. Not a lot of reading. Not a lot of reading. So I'm going to link all 3 documents inside the description if you guys want to read them. But yes, they are literally trying to change the law for who identifies as an actual employee versus a contract worker. You can be an employee right now, but if this ends up passing, those companies, your company, whoever it is you work for, they can deem you an independent contract worker instead, meaning you no longer qualify for specific benefits because now you are a gig worker. You are a contract worker. You are no longer an employee, depending on what that company wants to do and the way you work. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinion of this, because this literally changes the game for how a company will identify you as an employee or just a contract worker. Let me know your thoughts, you guys.
No one in power is truly representing us, the people. Something that I hope a lot of y'all are starting to take serious and think about while we start figuring out how we can drop all this division, this manufactured division between us, between races, between sexes, between sexual preference, between ages, between all of the stuff that makes no damn difference. The intentional barriers put up for us to fight amongst each other because we're there. We're close to that end game.
Respond to technology, because no one ever asks the question, why would a piece of technology be free? Here's something I can tell you from inside the industry. Tech is never free. There's either a direct cost, which is what you pay for the app or the with your information. That was a partnership, and money absolutely changed hands to the tunes of several $1 million. When dating apps came along, we thought, oh my God, how wonderful. They made a way for us to interact with each other and date in a pandemic, and been in tech for a very long time. And on my personal time, I study robotics and artificial intelligence. I've been studying this stuff long before ChatGPT ever came out. Here's the spoiler alert. There are companies like Boston Dynamics and Hanson Robotics that have been working on AI bots for a long time. They already have them. For example, there's one called Ameca, who is a robot that can walk and talk. They've now made the movement very fluid, so they move more like us and less robotically. She can also make some 30 different facial expressions and gives you side eye and all of that, right? Do you know what powers Ameca? ChatGPT. There is a AI bot named Sophia who just got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. She has a passport. You know what's powering her? ChatGPT. So if you think that technology is free, what you are actually doing is powering it with how to be us and how to think like us and how to speak like us. And they are using it currently in 2025 to power AI bots. By the way, they already figured out silicone skin, facial expressions, hair, all of that. So enjoy it for free, but just know that no tech is ever free. And there will be an opportunity cost one day. So just use it wisely. Just saying. Auntie loves you.
Y'all seeing the plans unfold? Y'all paying attention? I don't mean for this to be such a doom and gloom episode, but man, this stuff is real and we need to be hyper focused on it, at least enough to put it in the forefront of our decision making from day to day, to whether it's even just taking upon yourself to get prepared for your own family and stuff. Like, take some kind of stuff, some kind of measures to something. Don't just keep walking idly through like everything is peaches and cream, because everything's not peaches and cream. Things is not right, and I don't see them going back to being smooth
This is
anytime
for my
soon.
conspiracy theorists. If you're not a conspiracy theorist, then keep on scrolling. Here's one conspiracy theory that I believe in 100%, but I just can't prove. And that theory is they stopped teaching cursive in school, so the future generation won't be able to read founding documents. If you believe in this conspiracy theory, then comment in the comments and tell me what you think, and follow me for more content.
This country is no longer a democracy.
Well, young lady, you're exactly right. That's exactly why they stopped teaching cursive.
Democracy.
We never were a democracy. We've always been a constitutional republic. But I've said this in the past. Imagine it being cows. A constitutional republic is where you have two cows. You elect representatives to make laws about cow ownership and milk distribution. But their power is limited by a written constitution that protects your right to own and milk cows. Pure democracy is where you have two cows and your neighbors vote on who gets the milk. Representative democracy is where your neighbors elect somebody to decide on who gets the milk. Socialism, what you guys are all fighting for, is where you have two cows and your neighbor has no cows, so the government takes one of your cows and gives it to your neighbor. Fascism is where you have two cows and the government takes your two cows and sells you some milk. Capitalism is where you have two cows, you sell one, you buy a bull, and then you start a herd of cows. Bureaucracy is where you have two cows, the government takes both, loses one of them, milks the other one, and then throws the milk away. Totalitarianism is where the government takes both of your cows, denies they ever existed, and then boom, you get drafted. Surrealism is where you have two giraffes, and then the government requires you to take...
I ain't gonna lie. He came hard with that. He came hard with that. But like this man right here on the screen, right here, I'm with this dude's message.
I don't want to be around people no more. I don't know how I got here. Nothing happened to me. Traumatic. It seemed like I just woke up one day and it's like, I don't want to be nowhere where there's people. Damn. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go shopping to the grocery store when there's a lot. I don't want to be nowhere where there's people, where you got to deal with people. Hey!
Loved it.
White people. Question. What does it feel like to be white? especially if you're white in America.
Imagine being a race that you're not allowed to be proud of. That's how it feels to be white. If I was to make a post on Facebook and I said I'm proud to be white, I'd be the most racist person there was. That's how it feels to be white. Imagine being blamed for things you were not even a part of. That's how it feels to be white. We have all these occasions throughout the year. We have Black History Month. We have Juneteenth. We have Pride Month. If we was to celebrate being white, that'd be a no-go. That's how it feels to be white. You have your cable channels. You have BET, Black Entertainment. If we created a channel that was called WET, White Entertainment, that'd be a no-go. That's how it feels to be white. If we speak up on racism, we're hated by some of our own kind and other races. That's how it feels to be white. Have the day you deserve.
And there you witness the poisoning of minds, thus to divide us. Now, what does it matter if they get us all divided? Yeah, we'll just come back together, right? You know, we'll come back together, we'll make it work out. I mean, they would have to have an entire force of people to help with the corruption and help keep us divided and, divide even from us, the ones that's supposed to be protecting us. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, or how about I just let this ex-cop tell you himself?
Shouts me all the time, and they want to know my story and how I came to know so much knowledge. I quit being a police officer October 1st of last year. I was a detective, sergeant, SWAT team, instructor. I did all sorts of stuff. I've shown you guys the receipts. But people always ask me, what caused me to quit? What caused me to look at things differently? And how did I gain so much knowledge about all this stuff? Well, the biggest reason why I quit policing is that I realized that this system is only meant to keep us divided. Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. Now, as a police officer, and this is where it's going to get hairy, cops don't realize they're out violating people's rights every single day. Because every state has its own penal law, and then you have federal law. Penal law is not real law. And just hear me out with this. Law is so incredibly subjective. No crime is looked at the same because every officer has different perspectives. Every prosecutor has different perspectives. Every quote-unquote suspect, defense attorney, and judge all have different perspectives. Law is so incredibly subjective that it's not fair across the board whatsoever. There is a good old boy system that exists. 100% it exists. And that's one of the reasons why I couldn't morally be a police officer anymore. Corruption, moral corruption, is just as bad as any other corruption. When you're being forced to do things as a police officer that don't make you feel good, that's called moral corruption. And the violation of people's rights, that directly comes from the bosses and the people above the bosses' heads. The police, I'm going to go out on a limb and just talk in general here, okay? But the majority of the police officers want the same thing for their families as you do. Don't get me wrong. There are some seriously, deeply corrupted agencies, especially in places like in Appalachia and places that don't have much money, because there's no accountability and no transparency. And they do that purposefully as well. Just like they have different laws in every state. More confusion, and they do that purposefully as well. I was a police instructor, taught hundreds of students, and I had to start realizing that not everybody looked at things from my perspective as a police officer. Demographically speaking, I live in upstate New York. I reside about an hour north of the city of Albany, the capital in New York. But I was an instructor at the Zone 5 Regional Law Enforcement Training Academy in Schenectady, New York for many years. With that, I've literally taught hundreds of students, and I've got to work with a lot of different professionals. Knowing them on a personal level that most people don't get to know police officers. Now, I'm not defending the police. I'm not defending criminals. I'm not defending anybody. What I will say is that this whole entire system was designed to keep us divided. Cops don't realize the evil that they are serving, and that evil is the commercial code of the United States Corporation. This is a fact, Jack. Cops think they're out there defending and serving and not realizing that they're violating constitutional rights every single day. Now, police officers, if you're listening to me, you're going to know exactly where I'm coming from. How many times did your boss go and say to you after you handled something, well, why didn't you get that person's ID? Why didn't you get their name? Why didn't you identify them? When you had no legal justification to do so, but your bosses just wanted you to do it because that's what we do. This all comes from the state governments to the county governments to be enacted into law and code across the board. The police are weaponized against the citizens. And it's disgusting.
What can I say, man? Let that man tell it himself. Pretty powerful message he got. Pretty powerful story he come with. But y'all know it's that time, man. About time for those curtains to close here on the Saxx Reacts show today. But you know we ain't just gonna let you leave like this. All this negativity in the middle. You know we got to walk up out of here with some smiles, some laughs, some giggles, some joy. So without further ado, let's make that happen.
I haven't seen this much wood since I accidentally walked into the men's room at Planet Fitness. To be fair, there wasn't a ton of wood given all the steroids. 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, $625,000. Wow, look at this view. Yep, this is my job now. Okay, I don't think the people at Planet Fitness do steroids. I don't think the people at Planet Fitness even work out. If I ever end up back on house arrest, this is where I'm moving. People keep saying I'm too unprofessional, so I've decided to act like a very professional realtor. Oh my God, I'm so sorry I was late. I had to get headshots done, the kind where we all wear beige pants and white tank tops. Yeah, I had to take my white BMW in for service. I know you were looking for a 3-bedroom, but I figure if you bought an extra bedroom, I would make more money. The best way to tell your family and friends you gave up is getting your real estate license. Businesses keep messaging me saying they want to elevate my brand. I make jokes about my mom's pubes. I don't think we're gonna be elevating anything. Oh my God, millennials put string lights on everything. This kind of looks like my childhood home, except there aren't 5 kids fighting over a pack of ramen. Come on, neckbeards, get inside. This is some rich people. I'm not doing this.
Oh, this chick, man, I came across her a few days ago, and I can't get enough of her content. She be having me rolling. Because, yeah, she's a real estate agent, and these are her real ads. This is how she shows her houses. She just does comedy throughout the house, the yard, or whatever, so, you know, you can see what the house looks like and all that. But her twist on it and her take on it and how she's doing her real estate is just phenomenal. I love it. Forgot what her name is. Anyway, you can play back, hit pause, look at it. You know, it's on the screen. But she is hilarious. You gotta follow that chick. But anyway, y'all, man, don't forget, this world is nothing but a big old stage, and it is full of actors. I love y'all. I'm out of here. Peace.
Kingdom last year when it was leaked to the media.